Oh, yeah. We're gonna talk about it. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. It's a place to be. Teaching art collaboratively. It's a show that lets you know where art goes creatively. Talk about it. It's a place to be. Teaching art collaboratively. It's a show that lets you know where art goes creatively. Yeah. Let's talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
Hi, welcome to another episode of
Let's Talk About It.
I am Yvonne Lopez-Taylor from Carter Academy.
And I am Alyssa Wagner from Meade Middle School.
And today we're going to be talking about Keith Haring, the boy who just kept drawing.
Very cool. And this is also a Texas Bluebonnet book, correct?
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, hey.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
We have been working with our ILS team to come up with ideas for you guys and projects for you guys to do. And so this is a story of the boy who kept drawing. And so Keith liked to draw, and he became a famous mural artist. Keith Haring used a lot of bold lines, and he was huge in the 80s. And this is Basquiat right here. He was friends with Andy, all the pop artists. And he made the city beautiful. So again, connecting to maybe something beautiful.
And this is a good way to talk, because I know I've talked a little bit about Keith Haring in my class in the past, and where we've talked about different street artists. Like right now, Banksy's huge. So, or Banksy's been huge for a long time, but so we talk about that. And with my middle school, I go more into the part of it, like, is it legal? We talk a little bit more about the process and what
public
makes
art versus graffiti.
Exactly. And what makes what legal and so on and so forth.
So perfect. Today's lesson will be 3rd grade. But again, everything that we show you, we're going to show you how to either do it for lower grades or how to elevate it, how to differentiate.
Exactly.
And we're going to be talking about 2D figures. We're going to make inferences. We are going to write and interpret. And we're going to put in, we have a PE teak. We're going to be moving.
Ooh.
And our vocabulary is movement, contrast, color, symbols, street art, and graffiti. And we're going to talk about geometric figures, organic shapes. And so we always have a little focus on our artist. And so I like to show the artists working, or either with their artwork or just something so they can see the person in action, which fits our in action artwork that he does. He uses a lot of primary colors, very bold lines. So it's a great kind of beginning of the year project for your students to get them working and going.
And I was reading a while back here that majority of his work can be kind of, even if it's not signed, you can kind of know it's his work or inspired by his work because of he uses a lot of solid colors. He uses bold black lines, unless it's on a black background, then he used white lines. And then he would use these action lines, which are these like little lines here that show
like
movement.
Air quotes?
Yeah,
Air quotation marks?
that show, they're like action lines that show movement. And so that was kind of his signature style. And so much that, like, you can even still find Keith Haring inspired clothing and stuff now. I think Tom's had some Keith Haring shoes for a while. So they were, his style has lived on long. There's the word I'm looking for, transcended, long after Keith Haring has passed away.
Oh yeah, he comes and goes. He was also very into, they use a lot of his work for fashion.
Yes.
Just like most of the pop artists' work too. When we talk about artwork, I like to ask questions such as, what do you think they're celebrating here? Or what would you feel like to be inside this artwork? And so they're like, oh, we're having a party. Okay. And then another favorite question that I like to ask my students is, what would you change about this artwork?
Yeah, and I know sometimes a lot of kids are like, well, it's a famous artwork, nothing. Be like, yeah, but there's got to be something. I'm like, and it can be anything. It could be even just like, oh, I don't like the color orange.
Well,
so I
exactly.
wouldn't have
Something
put
as small
orange.
as the color.
You know, or I would have done a different pattern on the bottom or something. You know, it doesn't have to be this big grandiose idea. It can be something simple, but it gives them a chance to critically think and critique others' artwork.
Yeah, not just their own artwork or their peers' artwork, but artwork that they would go and visit at a museum or a gallery.
Famous.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they can be famous too one day.
Exactly.
And so for our warm-up today, we are going to...
Excuse me.
For our warm-up today, we are going to strike a pose.
Ooh. Vogue.
Yes. I was going to say that, actually. And I had this whole Vogue thing.
We're channeling our inner Madonna.
We are. All right.
Oh, boy. Okay.
So I like to start my kids drawing with whiteboards sometimes, or even on the tables.
Oh, the kids sometimes, the first time you have them draw on the tables, they freak
Yes.
out. But they just wipe right off.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't just use it in art, though, either. We would do sight words with it, vocabulary words, and, oh, they love it.
Yeah, when I was in the gen ed classroom, I would have my kids write on there. We would do multiplication and all sorts of things, and it got to be a thing that they really loved and looked forward to doing. All right, Manny, move over.
So, all right, well, Manny is going to be our little helper today.
Okay, Manny.
In the classroom, you would have a student go up and strike a pose. So you're going to have Manny here. I don't know.
Manny broke a leg, it looks like.
So we're going to, here, let's make him stand. So you guys can see him standing with, yes, one arm up, one arm down. And so I give them, first we're going to start with a contour line. A contour is an outline, so I explain to them, you know, you're really focused on looking at the figure, looking at the person, and you're drawing the outline.
Okay.
And so for this one, I give them about a minute.
Okay.
And it's just me trying to get them to loosen up their hands and not worry about having it be perfect. And then I also make it a race. So then they get very competitive and they all want theirs to look the best.
Okay.
And so ready, set, and
Oh boy.
go. Well, I'm looking at it upside down. So. Go, Alyssa. Ooh, I beat you.
Okay, I think I'm thinking too much about
You are
it.
thinking too much. You have to just be loose.
I think, yeah.
I win.
Ooh, he's got a real long hand. Dragging on the ground.
And so we start with the outlines. And again, it already looks like a Keith Haring inspired piece
Right.
because of the bold
My really pathetic.
outlines.
My pathetic one. Okay.
So that's our practice, our warm up. We might do a couple more poses and have the students take turns. And another little tip is I glue, well, not on these kinds, but on these kind, I glue a little pom-pom ball, so you have an eraser.
Little built-in eraser. I've done that. I've also, oops, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Gone to the dollar store and bought baby socks. And the dry erase markers they get stored in their baby sock. And so when they come in and they do this activity, they get a baby sock and it has a marker in it and then they just,
Oh, I like that.
yeah. So,
All in one.
yeah. Cheap tips from Steve.
Let's talk about it.
Vote.
All right. So strike a pose. So I like to show, Keith in action. And so how do I draw? We get that, they don't want to draw. They're like, I can't draw. Yes, you can. We're going to do a contour line or the dreaded stick figure, but now you're going to draw a line around it. And
that's what I always do with my kids when they draw stick figures. Even at the middle school level, they'll draw stick figures. And I'm like, if you can draw a stick figure, you can draw a person. You just have to trace around it, and that gives you the basis to go in and then put in those details and that muscle definition. And
I like
so
that.
forth.
I've never used that actually, because I always say break it up into shapes.
Yeah,
But I like that outline.
and most of the times I'll start here, but I will have a few that just go, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that, because their self confidence is so low. I say, okay, that's fine. Draw me a stick figure. Let's break it up. Let's put a contour line around it. Let's trace it. Now let's go in and try to find the shapes. So starting here, moving here to be able to kind of build up the process of finding those shapes in the body.
Scaffolding. Clear this way. Then we're going to go into color theory. So here's a little anchor chart that I use. We have our color wheel. We talk about how we mix colors. And because Keith Haring used a lot of just the bright colors, I'm breaking it down into cool colors and warm colors. So we're going to you're going to pick either a warm color or cool colors to do for your background.
Okay.
And then our people will be in the opposite, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
So our project it's not a copy of his work. It's more of we're combining techniques and we're inspired by his techniques and by his work. And so this is what the final outcome is going to look like.
Okay.
And so you're going to go with the cool colors or with the warm colors?
I'm going to go with warm colors.
Okay, then I'll do cool colors.
Okay.
So we're going to start with a mono print.
Okay.
So a mono print means you only get one print.
All right.
And I like to use jelly plates, but they're very expensive, and you can always go in with a handy dandy transparency.
And I'm sure if you're at an older school, you could probably ask around. I'm sure they've got boxes boxes and boxes of these. And also, you can still buy them on Amazon, because I did just buy a bunch on Amazon, and you can get them real cheap.
Yeah, they're not too expensive.
Yeah, and you can just wipe them off and reuse them.
And so for our mono prints, we're going to use markers.
Okay.
So you said, and you need to make sure that they are washable markers. If they are not washable, then the technique we're going to do is not going to work.
Okay.
Oh, they're the same. All right, so
What colors did I say?
you said
I said
cool.
warm.
Oh, you said warm, yeah. So I will be using the cool colors. And so this is where you let them create an abstract piece. You're going to go scribble, scratch, make lines, or you can use it as an informal assessment where you have them, okay, I want you to draw me a circle. I need you to draw me a shape with 3 sides. Oh, sorry, 3 sides. See?
We teach art, not math.
Reteach.
Although we do math too.
Yeah, so we integrate.
Integration.
And so you're going to fill up your page. Your colors can overlap, they can mix.
I'm trying to be careful with the yellow.
And here I am like...
I'm like, with yellows ones.
You can also use, I've seen people use foil. So when you don't have, you use the foil. The Mr. Sketch markers work awesome on the foil. Mm-hmm. So you apply the same kind of transfer that we're going to do, the same kind of print. It is just on foil. If you're using a jelly plate, then I would use ink.
Okay. I mean, most regular education classroom they're not going to have access to jelly.
Oh, no. But I also use the table again.
Yeah, well, but make sure, all of these things, make sure you try it first.
Yes, try it before you do it with your students.
There's definitely something to be said about when you're like, oh, we're going to do this, it should work. They said it should work on the video, and then your kids do it and it doesn't work. Okay.
Okay, so when you are done with your Mylar, your transparency, you're going to put it to the side. You're going to take your white paper and a sponge. So you wet the sponge. So you're not going to squeeze the water out like I just did. I'll show you what not to do. And you're going to take your sponge and you're going to swipe twice.
Okay.
You're not squeezing the water out. You're just going down your paper.
Okay.
Then you're going to take your Mylar.
Okay.
You're going to set the side that you've colored on, the ink side, down. This is now your printing plate. And you massage.
Ooh, that bright green is really cool.
Well, there's 2 ways to do this one. So you can either put your Mylar on top or you put your paper on top. So we'll show you both ways.
Okay, so you put your Mylar on top.
Well, honestly, I do it the other way, but I don't know why I did this way. But they both work. They both will transfer. It's what works for you.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Right? So
okay.
now your turn.
I'm so excited. I'm like...
We're going to put this to the side because we're going to need it to dry for a little bit.
Okay. Pressure. Okay, so swipe.
Mm-hmm.
The black marks, that matter?
Yeah, because it's going to...
We're going to go over
You're going to go over it.
Okay.
So this one, you're going to put the Mylar down, ink
Okay.
side up, and now put your paper down. This is just a much funner reveal, too. Funner? A more fun
fun.
reveal.
Okay.
And while you're printing, I'm going to do one more.
Okay. Ready for the big reveal.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, very nice.
So we're doing 2 quick versions. So,
Okay, so
right here, go back
Let that one
and...
dry. Go back and do more.
Yes.
Okay.
Because this one, we're blocking out shapes. Well, here I put the white paper so you guys can see the colors. I'm keeping with my cool colors.
This is so fun. Like, this would be a real cool way to do, like, instead of painted paper,
Mm-hmm.
like on the one episode where we did with the pictures and like the faces and we cut up scraps.
Yes.
If you didn't have access to that, this would be a real quick way to create some, like, you know, if you're running out of time or you have a little bit of extra time, just have some kids make some, like, basically painted paper, really.
Exactly. I like that idea. So the next step is we're going to set our Mylar to the side. And you're going to need a marker. And you have 2 options. We have our little handy dandy Mr. Marcos. His arm fell, but it's okay because we need him to move. If you don't have one of these fancy stencils that animators use,
Okay.
you can use one of these, you know, where you put the
the
brads and
yeah.
you can move them around. This
Okay.
is from a student.
Okay.
So you're going to use you can use a mannequin or you can use your person.
Okay.
And you're just posing him in whichever way you would like. And you're going to, you can trace him or you can have the students draw what they see. So I'm going to trace him. It doesn't have to be perfect because we want those thick lines. You're more or less tracing his shape. Then you're going to cut it out. And while
I totally did half. I didn't
That's
do
okay. Well, here, you can use mine. So you're going to cut him out. And I'm going to give you guys... I'm going to show you guys how to do it with the younger students, with the lower grade levels, is you take... Oh, here they are. Whoop. You can take die cuts, already pre-cut shapes. And so I have some leaves and I have the Gingerbread Man. So you're going to take I'm going to use the Gingerbread Man, and you're going to place them onto your Mylar. I'll use these 2. And we're going to go again with the same technique where you swipe your paper twice. So 1, 2, and 1, 2. You're going to put your Mylar down. When you place down your stencils, whatever the stencil is standing or is on top of will not print.
This could be a lot. I'm like brainstorming like all the different like ideas here.
I always tell the kids massage your paper. And you ready for the reveal?
I am.
You want to watch with me? Ta-da!
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
So this is true. You can use this for your younger students or students that may need accommodations. And then in order to get our thick line, rather than you can use a marker or Sharpie, crayons, but I like to use these bingo daubers.
Oh, nice.
You can use colored ones, or you can use, these are refillable. You fill them halfway up with India ink and water. And I tell them you do not squeeze. It's like you're saying a baby's so cute. So I have my students go like this, and they go, so cute.
Okay.
And so that's how you need to hold your bingo dauber. And so this is how you create your black lines. You're going to trace
Nice and thick.
trace your Gingerbread Man or your action figures. This is another good one-day project or a good review project about color and color theory.
Okay.
Okay, so we're ready to... Oh, yours is down here.
Okay. Alrighty, so I've got my...
So you're now going to add your water.
Okay. And here. Okay. Put my little dude
Oh,
down.
not yet. You're going to... You place your Mylar first.
Good catch, good catch.
Mhm. Place your person.
Let's place him here.
And now
Okay.
print.
Alright.
See, and I like how you could see the color coming through.
Yeah. It's really cool. Alright. Alright, here we go. Very cool. It looks like a zombie.
It does. Well, that's the thing. You can also reuse your stencils
Yeah, that's
because
cool.
now she can flip it over. You can also make a ghost print, so that means print again.
That would be cool too.
Then this is where we take our watercolor crayons.
Okay.
And again, you can use any material, just the watercolor crayons are so fun. And because I use
are these actually watercolor crayons or?
the watercolor oil pastels, I've always was taught watercolor crayons,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why.
Okay, no, I was
Yeah.
just wondering. Okay.
And so now we're going to do the opposite. So the complementary colors. So I did cool colors. Now I'm going to use my warm for my people.
Okay.
And you'll use your cool colors.
Okay.
And so same thing that you did with your markers. Now you're doing with the watercolor crayons. Got the water. So now that we have used our watercolor crayons,
Yes, ma'am.
you are going to use your brush
Okay.
and watch the magic happen. The students love this. The colors start blending together. I tell them their drawing starts turning into a painting. You can also work with wet on wet. So you could dip your watercolor crayon into the water, or you color directly with the water.
Let's see what happens. And I've done wet on wet. I don't necessarily encourage my kids to do it just because a lot of times it becomes a huge mess.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a technique available
No, I do love it.
for my
What happened
kids.
to my... Oh, sorry, excuse me. Then for this one, you already have your print, and you would do the same thing. You're going to trace your guy on him.
Okay. So I'm going to let this guy dry over here. Okay.
And so this one, you can use your pastels directly. Here, let's just... Ooh, mine looks like a dancing alien. And so same thing, but now this one you're adding another layer on top instead of filling it in.
Okay, I see. So you're just layering and stuff.
Correct. And again, you can use the watercolor crayons, paint, whatever materials you have available to you. And again, here's what one of our final projects looks like. Here's another version of doing the same thing. You can have your students outline their figure on construction paper, put it on blank paper so they don't have to draw the bold line, and then create a little collage.
Okay.
Or this one,
That's cute. I like that.
I love this one too. This one is, you can connect the pop art with Keith Haring. So I forgot my dinosaur, but I have my students draw from life all the time. So I had them outline their outline their objects, and we gave them the movement lines.
Oh, yeah.
And then we use our little bingo daubers for the dots.
That's really cute.
And other book connections that you can use is a line can be. So this one is just different kinds of lines. It's a good review for lines. Henry Scissors, when I was looking at all the different organic shapes in the human body, I was thinking about his cutout shapes.
Mm-hmm. And that's about Henri Matisse, isn't it?
Yes. And then this one is about Degas.
Oh, I love this book. I have this book. It's good.
So just reminding me again with the movement and making that connection with...
He talks about, about like painting ballerinas, and that's another good, more classical artist.
Yes.
Maybe
So we're making, the connection of an older artist to a, more modern artist.
Yeah.
And then again, the connection to Gingerbread Man.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good one, too. I mean, a lot of our kids have heard that poem. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man. And that's a way to bring that, especially if you're going to use, like, your little gingerbread.
And it's to bring in movement, that's something they already understand and know.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Or I'm thinking for, like, my middle schoolers, you could do... like the dance moves, like the Running Man or the Dad.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those
actually put it to good use.
Actually, yeah, I know. Actually allow them to do that stuff in my room, which I normally don't. But, like you were talking about, you could have your little Manny, the mannequin, you could have a kid up there, dabbing or whatever, doing the little Running Man, and you could have them do that on their paper, which I think would be really, really kind of a cool way for your upper classes or your upper kids to do that. Plus, it gets
I love that because I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it gets your kids up and moving and stuff. Which
brain breaks.
Yes, exactly, brain breaks. Or even if at the elementary or the little level when they have like Noodle Go videos, they have like the kind of like Just Dance.
Do the Keith Haring dance.
Do the Keith Haring dance, yeah.
And speaking of movement, I forgot my last little bit before we are off. We forgot our movement lines.
Oh yeah. Where's my? Oh, I put him over.
Or
there.
little air quotes.
I put him over there. I'll use them on this one.
And so thank you for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk About It. And please post your stuff on Twitter if you use our projects. You can tag me at Ms. Lopez.
And I'm at Art with Wagner, and we'd love to see what you create with this, what kind of ideas you come up with. So we can't wait to see your work.
All right, see you next time.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna talk about it. Let's talk about it. Talk about it.